Hello and welcome everybody to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Encounter Joshua, and hi to everyone watching live on Twitch. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, be sure to join in live with us next week for the second part of this two-part one-shot. God, that's a mouthful. On Saturday at 5 p.m. EST. Today we are playing the first episode of What We Were, which is a brand new system that's being released soon on Kickstarter. You can find it by jumping into Kickstarter and searching What We Were. But let's go around the casting crew and find out who we are playing and who we are. We are going to start. Let's start with Gaming.exp. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. I am excited to play this game. It seems very fun. Super open-ended with the character creation, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Indeedy Mundos. And speaking of fun, open-ended individuals, let's throw it over to Rafe. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. A little nervous, but we're gonna dive in and see what happens, eh?
Exactly. Nothing bad could possibly happen. Speaking of nothing terribly bad, we do have another person who was supposed to be joining us. Unfortunately, due to a scheduling thing, not currently here with us, but we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, though, let's go around and, let's talk about some of our wonderful sponsors that we have here on Encounter Roleplay. This week we are sponsored by The Spy Game, which is D&D 5e compatible spy game with action, espionage, clandestine operations and organizations and secret agencies. You can be your very own Bond, James Bond. You take on the role of a spy running intel and engaging in wet work to ensure the security of the world from corrupt governments and evil machinations and rogue villains. It's coming soon on Kickstarter as well, and the Quick Start PDF is available for free on DriveThru RPG. Speaking of wonderful things, you can also check out Fantasy Grounds, which is our virtual tabletop of choice. All the beautiful maps and roles you see tonight are being used in Fantasy Grounds, which you can try for free at fantasygrounds.com. You can also get all of your miniatures that you could possibly need for your heart's content from Wayland Games. If you go to waylandgames.co.uk and get yourself a huge range of D&D, Warhammer, 40k, all that juicy stuff for up to 20% off. And this week, check out our sponsor, Tabletop Loot, who sell incredible dice. When we hit 20 retweets, we will also give a set of dice away to you guys in chat, !tweet to have a look at that tweet. You can support the show by retweeting it there. Finally, I'll remind you how you guys can interact with today's game. You can donate to give the game to give players Nat 1s, Nat 20s, Wild Magic Surges, and this month's special Table of Pets. Also, there is a moment when you love in the show. Please clip it. We'll be using these highlight reels on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get in and find out a little bit about what we were. This is a custom, very easy to use role-playing system. As I mentioned, it's currently out on Kickstarter. It's a D6 pooling system. We're going to be showcasing that a little bit and doing some exploring as our players explore the small rural town of Brandlebrook. And Brandlebrook is a small human settlement that's a couple of days' walk south of the main capital of the Kingdom of Sidwell. And currently, there's a big preparation going on for something akin to a jubilee, a great celebration in the capital. And many of the outlying cities and villages and towns have people who are resting up for the great festival that's coming in about a month's time. People are already starting to make their way there. And as such, Brandlebrook is playing host at the moment to a collection of strange individuals who have been coming in from all corners of the kingdom, stopping by, making use of the local tavern, and enjoying some of the local festivities. It's a very small country kind of place, and there isn't much in the way of large buildings or infrastructure except for a small mine on the edge of town and the mayor's great estate, which sits slightly detached on private lawns. But as these things do, they draw interesting and sometimes strange individuals. And speaking of strange individuals, let's go around and have an introduction and find out who is currently staying at the local tavern. We'll start with Dax. What does Dax look like? What's his deal?
Dax looks kind of scruffy, kind of ill-kempt, walks around in a leather duster with various pieces of paper, scrolls, gems, amulets, and stuff just hanging from his belt and other parts of his jacket. He has several bracelets on one arm with the sleeve rolled up. And he is a magic investigator.
A magical investigator. Wow. Well, Dax, how long have you been staying at the local tavern? Are you just arriving, or have you been here a few nights already?
He's been here a few nights. He's been called in on by the order to look into the mad ravings of the local grandmother, who is there's a flurkin in that tree, and of course
There is.
Of course, the order has to at least send somebody out to investigate, so they always send Dax on these missions.
Does that mean that Dax is potentially not the cutting edge of their investigations? Has Dax angered somebody to be constantly investigating flurkings and?
Yes, he is pissed off quite a few people of the order, and they always give him the shit jobs, while all of the catastrophic level threats are given to the other mages.
Very well. Well, you have been staying at the hospitality of one Mrs. Natalia Becker, who owns the local tavern and runs a rather ship-shop kind of business. She's always moving about. She's I'd hesitate to call her an elderly woman. She still looks very fair for her age, very glamorous, and certainly dresses the part. And kind of looks. This place is probably a bit of a delight to most people who come in here, expecting it to be sort of a small country tavern. You'd be surprised to find that all the walls are properly painted. There are works of art that are hung around the place. There are doilies that are put out on the table. She keeps this place looking resplendent, and she looks to herself like she's almost always dressed to impress. A fine frock of some kind, or a fancy sort of maybe not a cocktail dress, but something sharp and welcoming. And she sees you come down for the morning, and is probably a little relieved to see Dax, because not but moments ago, a rather noticeable individual has walked in, someone who is certainly drawing some attention, and that, I believe, would be Wart. Would you care to introduce yourself, Wart?
Yes, Wart is a troll, and didn't get much of a chance to go over how trolls look in this world, but
it's entirely up to you.
All right,
no, it's all on you. You go as wild as you want.
All right, I'm not gonna go too wild. They're not as monstrous. They're not as inherently evil. Just misunderstood. So he's walking in kind of a little more carefully than you would expect, probably because of the cloth covering his eyes. But he's taller than most humans, green skin, but thinner, and just looks more like a human with green skin and a big nose.
Very well. Well, you certainly draw a little bit of attention as you come in, and some of the locals who are in here, might be farmhands or working at the mine or something like that, they're all sat round with their caps on, enjoying a slapdash breakfast and some coffee or tea, whatever their poison is in the morning, and looking a little bit like they're not quite awake. But the moment Wart walks in, suddenly people are awake. They are alert. This shocks everyone into some degree of sort of cohesion, and no one says anything, and people just look very confused. And Dax, you come down into a tavern that has fallen entirely silent as Wart is making his way, I presume, towards the bar.
Yes.
Very well. There is a pause, and the lady behind the bar, Mrs. Becker, she looks at you and sort of seems to ponder whether or not, and will almost without realizing that she's doing it, will gently wave a hand in front of you, noticing the bandages covering your eyes to see if it provokes a response.
Which, no. Not unless she moves a hand close enough to brush him.
She looks a little uncomfortable, and she looks to one of her servers, who is suddenly incredibly busy. Very busy, like so awkwardly busy, just like doing stuff, and she clears her throat slightly and says, "Might I be able to help you, Mr."
My name is Wart.
Oh goodness, Mr. Wart. How
Yes.
might we? Are you lost or?
No, I'm here for the upcoming celebrations, and well, I would like some breakfast. I just got here.
We are rather busy today. She looks around, lying. There's about 5 tables that aren't currently sat, and also it's not helped by the fact that no one is making any noise because everyone is super uncomfortable and eavesdropping on this.
Dax
Right.
goes up and he places his tin star on the bar table. This is actually my deputy. He was sent here to act as my tracker. As you know, trolls are indeed the best trackers.
She looks at you a little confused for a moment, and she...
One does not need eyesight to be able to track, madam.
Oh, very loud typing. Very loud typing. Sorry. She looks a little confused at this unusual duo of trackers or investigators or anything. She does take a moment to appraise your badge. She looks it over. You haven't had any trouble. She's been perfectly polite the entire time you've been staying here, but she does look it over with a scrutinous eye for a second, and then finally just sighs and says, very well. Well, I suppose I should whip you up something to eat. You would like to eat...
Food.
She
Naturally.
gives you a defeated look, like any clue would have helped. But something usual, some sausages, eggs, bacon, that sort of thing.
Eggs, sausages. I'm sorry. Are you a mountain troll or a hill troll?
A woodland troll, actually.
Woodland troll. So also throw a little bit of leafy greens on the side, as per their diet.
I see.
Thank you.
And she will make her way down the bar and go over and have a slightly hushed but frantic conversation with one of her servers, asking for a few bits and pieces. And you guys... I don't know if either of you would be at all interested in overhearing her frantic deliberations, but she is trying to keep it to herself, and you guys are settled in for the morning. Things seem relatively peaceful here.
Wart might listen half-heartedly while looking at Dax. You're clearly well educated to understand what I am.
Yes, I am Dax Aura. I'm from the Order of Magi. I was sent here to look after a couple of woofes, little woodland sprites who are prone to creating quite the mess at these celebrations.
Intriguing. I will help in any way I can.
Wonderful. And in return, I will buy you breakfast.
Much appreciated. I mean, for you being open-minded and understanding as well as providing me food, I will happily aid in anything more beyond this.
Wonderful.
It is warmer reception than I've gotten most places.
Magical creatures are my specialty. I have a kinship with them.
Very good.
As you guys make your introductions and await breakfast, we have a new arrival. Someone comes to the small town of Brandlebrook and finds the only tavern in town is open for the morning and doing a little bit of trade, and probably slips in without being noticed too much. Probably because most people are busy staring at a troll who's just come in and sat at the bar and is having a conversation with a magical investigator of the... Did you say you were part of an inquisition, or what's the... An order?
They're more like... the kingdoms would go about killing magical creatures. The order relocates them to like a reservation. That's one of the things that they do. Anything that's like if there's a magical artifact that was uncovered that would lead to the end of the world, the order would come in and claim jurisdiction.
You must be real busy, like just tripping over these weapons of magical destruction, WMDs, just everywhere. You know.
Exactly.
Well, okay, so as all of the focuses are on Wart at the bar, who slips in and gets a chance to have a look around this tavern?
So Elena slips in, and she kind of hovers towards the back. She is kind of reluctant to deal with a lot of people because she was kicked out of her guild wrongfully. And so she's just watching to see what's going on in this town, and she got a note that there may be a job in the town to help somebody.
Very well. Okay. So you come in, you see all of this going on. The tavern, as mentioned briefly before, is a very nice, painted inside, has artwork, and all the servers are dressed actually quite finely, considering it's a small rural village. And as you come in, there's the note that you were handed was very simple. It was more, maybe not necessarily passed directly to you, something that you would have seen posted up, requiring investigators. And you would have found them all over the trees, some of them upside down, wildly everywhere, asking different things, all in the same hand, telling you that need investigation of Florkins and Dribbitses and an infestation of Hardelbrooks, and just all of these things sound like nonsense things, and like sometimes there's like 6 attached to like one tree along the path, some not even like towards the path so people could notice it, but someone has just gone around and plastered, like they're almost like missing cat notices that someone's just gone down the street, but they're just all over trees everywhere in very scruffy handwriting, and half of them forget where to tell you where to go to. So I guess the tavern would be a good place to go and investigate.
Yeah.
So,
she just kind of observes and eventually makes her way over to order an ale from the bartender.
okay. It's early in the morning, so still going with the ale?
Still going with the ale.
I love it. The bartender comes over, introduces herself, says, greetings, my name is Mrs. Becker. I will be serving you today. What can I get for you?
Just a glass of ale, and maybe you'll know about the note that I found outside looking for investigators.
She frowns and looks absolutely just exhausted, and then she looks over at the troll at her bar, and it just sort of like, she looks like she's having a rough morning and hasn't had her first cup of coffee yet. And she says, have you traveled far for this?
Not too far, a couple towns over. Is there a person that put these up that you might know of?
Yes, there is, but I hope it's not been a huge inconvenience. The lady who posted, she's not very well. She's very senior and has been complaining about several things. She's drawn the investigations of several other people as well, including there is a man has been staying around the corner from here, a witch hunter, I believe, who has been called in as well. I think she is just forgetful and blaming it on woodland sprites and this, but let me get you that ale, and I'll fill you in on the details as soon as I can. She will rush off, and she seems to have forgotten how peculiar the ale order is in the morning, and just fills your flagon, puts it down in front of you, and says, that'll be a couple of pennies.
Okay, she takes it and slides over a nickel or so to her and give her a tip.
Thank you very much. And she,
You're welcome.
Well, I have to. I'll be right back. I have to. And she rushes off and comes back with. I tell you what, as an investigator, Dax, why don't you have the first roll of the experience? So, what I'll say is this will be a wisdom roll, and if you have any skills in identifying, almost, it could be alchemy or nature or anything like that. Any skills?
Yeah. I have a lore of Arcana.
Okay.
Okay. So
Probably Arcana. It would probably be something, because there is a plate of leaves and stuff that is coming towards the troll that look a little frantic.
what about perception?
Yeah, I'll give you
Maybe
it. I'll let you
Maybe
start.
like divine something out of it.
Yeah,
Perception.
no problem.
So my wisdom is 2, so that is 2d6 plus the perception of 1, so that's another. So I'm rolling 3d6.
Okay, so
13.
13. So how this system works, it's a D6 pooling system, and it's real easy. You're looking for as many 4, 5s, and 6s as you can, 6s being the best, obviously, and you're also looking for as few 1, 2, 3s. You roll them all together, and you take successes and fails. So that'd be 2 successes of a 5 and a 6, and 1 minor, not too bad of a failure. So on 2 decent successes, you get a feeling, the strong feeling, this almost suspicious feeling that the troll is being served we'll call it a roadside salad, of someone might have nipped outside and possibly pilfered from local gardens and this side of the road. You're pretty sure you see a dock leaf in there, because vegetarians are not something they often cater to, and they also look at the size, being slightly larger than your average human. Not sure if they have enough for like a side salad would necessarily suffice. So they bring him over quite a lot of stuff, but you are served a more traditional breakfast. And she looks at the plate, seemingly forgetting that you're there and aware that he can't see her reaction. She doesn't mask it too well, of looking a little despairingly at the plate that she has just served up to a customer.
Couldn't find a few cabbages? Perhaps a leak or two?
She shakes her head and says, I am very sorry, but for that I would need to, most of it has already gone into the stew for later, for this evening. It is the best I could do on short notice, and I apologize.
She had just served you a few of the leafy greens that she could go foraging for outside, Mr. Ward. Is that okay with you?
She looks very worried. Oh, you are muted, Rafe.
Oops. The pickings within town probably are not very palatable. He reaches forward and takes a sniff. How is it smelling?
I mean, leafy.
Like
like foliage.
He'll taste a bite of it and see what he's tasting.
It's probably not very well balanced. I imagine like the first bite is just like an entire like a mint leaf, and then the next will just be like super bland, like just leaves from a plant or something, and then
Right.
occasionally like there's a little bit of actual salad mixed in, but not much.
Dax pulls out a few gold pieces and places it on the counter. Now, take this down to the apothecary and go get me some, if you would, some of these ingredients. And they're just herbal ingredients, something that trolls would find in their home, like some bark, because bark would be good for cleaning their teeth,
Right.
and other stuff. Now take that down to the apothecary, and then whatever change he gives you, keep. And he puts in another.
She takes the gold and sort of looks very astounded by this, and she quickly notes down a few of these pieces, rushes down the bar. Pippa, and she summons one of her serving girls and says, go down to old man McCleary and purchase all of this. Here is the money, and be back as quickly as you can. And she sends her running off, and she comes back and she says, I am very, very sorry for all of this inconvenience. I should have something a little better for you for lunch.
Very well.
Why is she
Thank you.
acting so nervous? Because she can hear him from where she is, can't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
One
Just
would
wondering
think
what-
that because. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, one would think that you wouldn't try to pass something so tragic off on me if I could see.
She looks
Oh.
absolutely horrified.
Oh,
like,
Mr.
no.
Ward, I assure you that these people are more accustomed to serving elves and dwarves and humans than they are other magical creatures. I would swear that if a red cap came walking through that door, they wouldn't know to serve it ripe shit for dinner, because that is a delicacy of red caps.
Very true, nor would I. Forgive me for that.
No, I here, you are staying in town for how long, Mr. Ward?
Probably as long as I need to take part in the celebration and bring the tale back to my people.
Very well. Might I offer you a small measure of compensation? You can stay the first night for free, and to apologize for the shoddy service. And we'll try this again tomorrow with grander hospitality.
What
Very
are you so
well.
nervous
I think we could do with a free start. The second beginning. Go ahead, sorry.
She just asked her, what is she so nervous about? She kind of just, she's right there, not too far.
Oh, nothing. It's just a busy morning. She sort of like looks embarrassedly at the troll for a moment, being unaccustomed to them, and says, "I really must go check on things in the kitchen, if you'll excuse me." And she'll frantically rush off and leave you three sat at the bar.
Dax kind of
Okay.
goes up. He sees a cobweb in the corner, and he kind of twirls it around on his finger, and he kind of rubs it together, whispers an incantation, and blows on it. And he's going to attempt to summon a small spider.
Okay. Would you care to roll me a summoning, please? Let's see
so
how
the
we do.
summon is 3. Do I want to add? Do I have to add any base stats?
Yeah, I'd say. Do you? I mean, are you learned? Are you like an intelligence-based individual,
Yeah,
or are you more?
yeah.
Okay.
He's heavy in intel. So
Okay.
rolling 6 dice.
Damn.
So,
Damn.
4 successes,
Wow.
2 failures.
That is. Okay. What kind of spider do you attempt to summon?
Just your normal household spider. Something that it's not like anything super scary. Maybe like a daddy longlegs, maybe to ward off the aggression. But I doubt that the peasantry know that daddy longlegs are basically harmless. But he's going to summon one of those. And then-
It flickers into existence for a moment. You see, like the spider web almost becomes like a gossamer. Almost looks like one of the doilies that's placed next to you, but much, much smaller. And then you see as it sort of like draws all of its legs inwards and props up onto very spindly, dainty little legs. It is a perfect daddy long legs with wings and everything.
And then he's going to nudge it towards the direction of the innkeeper to follow her back to where she is and report back.
Okay. It lifts gently, delicately off the bar and flits behind the bar, making its way towards the door and gets to the door, realizes that the door's closed, and then scuttles down the wood and underneath the door, the gap in the doorway, and will come back with a report for you in a few moments' time.
Summoning creatures are easy if you know what you want and you know where they live.
Intriguing. I haven't dabbled much with magic. I've considered looking into some healing spells, but it's rather hard to come by, even for us magical creatures.
Healing spells? Healing spells. The giants are very well versed in healing spells. So are the woodland elves, as well as some of the fae. Stay away from goblins, though. They are going to try to make it seem like they know healing spells, but all they know is necromancy.
Mm.
How do you know
Thank you for
so
the
much
warning.
about magics?
I'm from the Order, my dear. We are the... We like to call ourselves the experts of magic and magical creatures.
Well, so do you know the person that put up all those posters outside all about magical things?
Let me see this, madam. And I look it over. Is there like a seal or anything? For, let's say, the witch hunters, which are a rival group that instead of relocates magical creatures, kills them outright.
They are dangerous. Yeah, if you're looking for a seal or something like that, you could you'd know what their seal would be. It's a kind of probably like a jagged like a very simple like a W that sits in a capital H, so just sits in the top half of it, but would be very gothic and spiky looking in design, which you'd also know is usually comes in the form of a brand, as they're an unpleasant bunch.
Yes, I do, madam, and I would urge you not to respond to this this letter. In fact, allow me to deal with this rather quickly. And he goes over to the fire that's still kind of going, and just drops it in. There, now it's done. Now you don't have to deal with those terrible, terrible ruffians. In fact, if you are wanting to help with magical creatures, I can commission you as a deputy of the order.
Okay, sure. You just burned my paper. That was nice of you.
I mean, if you'd like to deal with the witch hunters, they are 2 houses down.
Aren't you a
And,
witch hunter?
I am a member of the order. I am not a witch hunter. Witch hunters kill magical creatures. I help relocate them.
Oh. Okay, well, not magical. I just use my daggers. So, totally good there.
That's fine. But
All right,
yes,
well-
if you're going to deal with the witch hunters, they would they don't deputize. They more conscript. There's a whole branding process. Hurts like a bitch. And then you're stuck with them for life. And if you try to break your contract, they will just kill you outright.
Oh, I'd like to see them try. I've been attacked by better than them.
You would think so, but if the High Inquisitor of the Witch Hunters were here, they would flay you, then hoist you up by
Oh
each
my-
limb.
My goodness, says Mrs. Becker. She walks back in, and you were just like, they would flay you from balls to brains. You know, she goes like pale white as a sheet. And what exactly are you all talking about?
We're talking about the Witch Hunters, madam.
She looks like genuinely concerned for a moment and shivers and says, "An unfriendly bunch. I wouldn't have them here in the tavern. They unsettle people."
They unsettle a lot of people. Unfortunately, they are still commissioned by kings and lords who are too ignorant to realize that killing magical creatures actually does us more harm than good. Like burning down an entire grove of tree folk, just instead of asking them to move.
Do you know of the business that there is a man by the name of Mr. Cross who lives is staying a few doors down? He's one of their order, and he has been summoned here, but so far he has refused to comment on why he has been in town, and he's making everybody very uncomfortable. I wondered if perhaps the order knew anything about why he was here, so we might help him hurry along.
The Order doesn't converse with witch hunters, but I will keep an eye out and an ear to the ground for Mr. Cross.
So, what are you doing here, Mr. Troll?
Oh, I am here to take part in the festivities. My people, as I'm learning, do not get out here often enough. We don't know much of what goes on here, and I was curious.
Oh. Well, seems like the same old things in every other town, you know. But welcome. Welcome to the town.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Oh,
If you guys would like to finish your breakfast, I'm going to take this moment to go introduce myself to Mr. Cross.
I'll come
Very
with
well.
You may come if you'd like. I don't expect it to be a very nice conversation.
you. I don't deal with knights too often, so that's okay.
I believe I shall accompany you as well, unless you think it's a bad idea.
You are under the care of the Order. They would not dare break such a sacred treatise as to attack a magical creature under the care of the Order.
Then yes, I will join you.
All right.
Would stand up, place an arm on Dax's shoulder to have him guide him out the door. Safe, fast, quickly.
So Dax heads out.
Okay, you can head on out into the small town of Brandlebrook, which mostly has something in the way of roads on the inside. It turns to a dirt road once you're sort of on the main trail. But these roads have been laid recently, mostly sort of cobblestone, and there wouldn't be much in the way of carriages around town, maybe a few horses. And there are people coming and going about their morning routines. Plenty of villagers are making their way off to the mine or up to the Lord's Manor, where there are several farmsteads around, which they'll be working on. Other people are opening small little shops and convenience stores, and it's probably only been light for about 2 hours at this point, so the sun's just rising fully, and it's a brisk morning, a little chilly, with a little bit of mist that hangs in the air at this time of the year. And as you make your way down the road, everyone here is incredibly friendly. You get a few weird looks, Mr. Warp, but they do their best to sort of not show it too much, and people give you a wide berth, maybe because of your visual impairment, or maybe because they are a little intimidated. But as you get a few doors down, you come to a door which looks to be like someone's private residence, and has what looks to be a piece of parchment that has been nailed to the door, and you see the symbol of the Witch Hunters Order that is still, even though you could draw on, has been burnt into the parchment and hangs there with no other notice.
Dax knocks on the door.
You knock on the door, and there's a pause, and a few moments later, hurried footsteps come to the door. The door opens, and a woman who looks very afeared opens the door. She has her hair tied in a scarf, and she looks a little frail, pulls a shawl around her from the morning chill, and looks out to you, and can I be helping you?
Yes, is Mr. Cross available for conversation?
Oh, of course, you must be, yes, please, come through. He's staying in the guest room. And she opens the door into a very modest dwelling. It's a small sort of cottage, and you can see that she has her family having morning breakfast. But as you are welcomed in, they sort of give you tired smiles and greetings, and she doesn't look anywhere near as joyous as they do, to sort of like friendly welcoming, all that kind of stuff. She makes her way over and stands by a door, and everyone seems to almost look away in an afraid kind of fashion. And she reaches out and steels herself for a moment and timidly knocks on the door and says, Mr. Cross, I believe you have some visitors. There's a pause, and you hear heavy footsteps, distinctly armored footsteps, and the door will open, and on the other side is a man dressed in what looks like an alligator skin trench coat with a large blade across his back. All of his clothing or any armor that he's wearing is covered, apart from armored boots and thick, heavy-duty leather gloves, and a witch hunter's hat, a very tall, traditional kind of sense one, held in one hand. He's an intimidating-looking fellow, like near 7 foot tall, with slightly salt and pepper hair and a grizzled jaw with a few scars dotting his face, and he steps out, ducking underneath the door frame and into the room, and it just falls very quiet. Everyone sort of drops their gaze, and he glances over to the motley crew that has arrived, taking a particular interest in Mr. Warp, but not immediately sort of spitting in your direction or anything that verbose.
Are you Mr. Cross, I presume?
I am.
You are
exactly
Dax Aura of the Order. You are aware that operating in the same town as an Order member requires you to share any and all evidence with the Order. Vice versa. Fair play. subsection 224C.
I'm aware of the cooperation between our two agencies, but I have to tell you that if you came here to try and poach my business, you're gonna be frightfully disappointed.
Oh, Mr. Cross, the order is not in the business of poaching. It's just the fair use. You share your evidence and findings with me, and I share it with you, and whoever gets the creature first wins the contract, as it were.
And I suppose you can tell me exactly what it is you're investigating.
Probably you.
The order sent me out here to take care of some Ufes, but I do recall from your missive that you placed up on Miss Elena. Where did you find that missive?
All over the trees, haphazardly spread about, like everywhere around this town, as if he owns it.
That you're looking for a whole manner of fey folk.
He gives you a very explosive sigh of frustration, and he makes his way over to the family's table and draws a chair. And literally the second he draws the chair at the head of the table, everyone else stands up and clears their plates and vacates the room in a hurried sort of fashion to give you guys the room. These guys do not seem like they are accustomed to hosting individuals like himself. How he came to be in residence here is up in the air, but he takes a sit down, puts his hat on the table, and massages his temple and says, you truly believe that the Brotherhood of the Witch Hunters would go pasting around random articles all over town like some kind of amateur without any clue as to what it is that we actually be here hunting?
Yes, I do.
You know why? Because you can intimidate people. It's obvious. You probably scared people, and the sooner that they help you, the sooner you leave. Or, well, maybe this Jax guy will actually make you leave.
He reaches into his jacket and
She pulls
slides
out.
out. He gives you a look for a moment like, really?
Now, Elena, we are not here to start a fight.
You don't know what's in his jacket. He could pull it out and hurt you. Well, I mean, you are a magic user, so maybe not. But
For all your talk of me being here intimidating folk, I'm not the one drawing blades in someone's home who you are currently...
it's terrified of you, obviously. They scatter like little roaches every single time you open your mouth and prance around their home.
You make a habit of speaking to people in such a fashion, referring to the common folk as roaches. I can see how you endear yourself to people. And he pulls out what looks to be a rolled piece of parchment. And
Right.
we'll take a moment to pull it and roll it out on the table. This is nothing like the hastily scrawled notes that you have found posted all over town. This is incredibly fine with in very nice sort of black ink written in calligraphy. It has an official Witch Hunters wax seal at the bottom. And it is a contract, but it has nothing to do with these magical creatures. It is a contract that appears, he will offer it to you, Dax, as he is going to cooperate. This here is a missive I was sent from the Lord of the estate here to investigate troubles in the mines. Nothing to do with any of your precious magical miscreants that are popping up all over town. You must be thinking of the lady down the road.
Yes. I've already dealt with her Wu Phase. Let's see. Let's see, troubles in the mines, and I will be the one to determine whether or not this is magical creature related or otherwise, sir. Let's see, trouble in the mines, and he just kind of glances over the missive.
The contract states that he is to arrive in town, make himself known, and announce himself at the manor house for Lord Mulgrave, who is the mayor of this town. Mayor Bill Mulgrave, up at the manor house, and will be receiving further instructions. Though what he's been told past this point, he doesn't share with you. It tells you that it's an investigation into troubles in the mine of a supernatural nature.
So, have you gone to speak with Mayor Mulgrave?
I have. Well, I've attempted to.
You've attempted to, and were you unsuccessful?
He grinds his teeth for a moment. Do you have anything that would assist you in a persuasion check, other than just a straight
Charm.
charisma? Okay, I will allow you. You have social charm? Wow,
Yes.
we really are stepping into the bounds of make-believe, Zippy. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. So, charisma of 2, social charm of 1 is 3 dice.
Okay.
And that's 2 6s up to... Yeah.
He looks at you, and you see like a dark expression fall across his face. He looks mildly furious for a moment, and he clutches the edge of his chair, and you hear it creak. And he says, "It would appear that the mayor has no recollection of sending the missive. He has refused to see me, even though," and he taps the bottom of it, and he says, "I come bearing an official contract with his signature.
I see.
So,
I see.
as of yet, I've been denied entrance to the mine, and my investigation has fallen at the first hurdle."
That seems to be a personal problem, he says as he slowly tries to put the contract in his jacket. Just kind of like sleight of handing it.
You can try. You can absolutely. Do you have sleight of hand as a skill, or are you just straight?
I'll just have to roll straight dex it. So dex of 1,
I do.
6.
That is a 6. Okay, let me just roll for his wisdom plus. Doesn't have anything. Oh yes, he does. Okay, so for perception, with 2 successes, he easily spies you trying to. It was not a bad attempt for you. Sort of like very casually slide it, but he looks to you and says, "I presume you're not trying to steal an official document from a certified witch hunter."
Oh, I'm so sorry. I get so many missives a day. I just think that they're mine. So as he hands it back, he's going to try to tear off like a corner of it.
I will allow you again to an attempt with
A 4.
Okay. He doesn't seem to notice.
Can I
just
try?
takes it back and rolls. He succeeds. He takes a corner of. What did you get? You got a 4. Okay, I'll tell you. You can have the. You can't have the witch hunter seal, but I'll let you tear off half the. I'll let you tear off the signature from the Lord of the corner. So, like at the corner, like you just managed to tear that bit, and he takes it and rolls it up without looking it over and slips it into his jacket.
Can I attempt to pickpocket it?
I'm going to say at this particular moment, it would be incredibly difficult. You can. How would you attempt to? He's currently sat. It's in his inner jacket pocket. if you straight up just try and sneakily do it, maybe with a distraction of some kind.
Oh, distractions. We gotta come up with a distraction. She kind of like elbows Wart. Come up with some sort of distraction.
So, Mr. Witch Hunter, Wart speaks up.
Yes.
What do you proclaim there is no magical reference, yet this lord cannot remember creating the missive to send to you? That he speaks
So
of a
I am-
supernatural. Dex, are you aware of any magical creatures that could influence this? I believe there are
Yes.
some fae that could influence minds, are there not?
There are several fae that can influence minds. Have you been messing with several fairy clicks? Have you upset a few fairy clicks that might want you?
Mr. Dax, if I might interrupt your what I'm sure will be an incredibly well thought out and very prejudiced accusation that you were going to throw in my direction, let me
You are
clear
one
a few
speak of
things up.
prejudice.
You've been standing in my presence for the best part of 10 minutes now, Mr.
My name is
Troll.
unimportant.
Okay, Mr.
Your-
Troll, then.
People are here.
No, we only
To
get to
hunt
call him Mr.
you.
Troll. His name is Mr. Wart. To you.
Fair
You
enough.
are your order hunts creatures.
That's correct.
Your desire is to eliminate anything that isn't like you, and you are speaking of being prejudiced.
My desire is to make sure that when a town comes under the influence of some crone, or when there is an outbreak of lycanthropy, or there is an infestation of some kind of pathogen or spirit or wraith or specter that haunts these people, that I will be here to ensure that they do not have to suffer at the hands of the supernatural.
Yes, but your order is destructive in nature. You'd rather burn down the entire house rather than find the one thing that ties the spirit to this realm and allow it to pass on.
We do what is necessary, Mr. Dax.
Okay,
And
fair
as
enough.
I was trying to say before I was so rudely interrupted by the three of you, I haven't had the chance to cause any trouble with the local community. I've been here a week. I'm not from around these parts. I'm a stranger. I've traveled a very long way to meet this lord, this mayor. I've been on the road for nearly a month, and when I finally arrive, I am told that I'm unable to be introduced to the mayor who summoned me. So as of yet, I have been sitting on my hands and taking up these fine folks' time, and my patience is starting to wear thin, especially when I'm called into question by somebody who has been here a matter of days and knows nothing about the contract which I've been summoned for. So perhaps you would take your presumptions and stick them firmly where I have not been.
Very well, Master Cross. You're right. I came slinging accusations all willy-nilly. It's a problem I have. We'll take our leave. Try not to scare these folks too much, or who knows? Perhaps a
We'll come back
tree
and kill you.
No. She maybe. Me, no.
Oh, he'll come because he's a magic user, and I'd love to see you take him on personally.
Miss
The order.
Elena, you You want to threaten me again?
Oh,
No,
that wasn't a threat. It's a promise. You threaten anybody and you hurt anybody in this town, we will come back for you.
She will come back for you. Make that distinct separation.
He reaches into his pocket and pulls out what looks to be a small book, and takes out what looks to be a piece of charcoal, and opens it and writes something down.
Oh no. Well, I think at this juncture we should leave.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure we'll be getting reacquainted as soon as I've had a chance to speak to the guard captain about your threat of my life. Thank you very much. I'll be on my way.
No.
And
It was my threat. He's just helping
I'm
somebody.
well aware of who threatened me, and I'm well aware of the correct authorities to be speaking to.
Cool.
Wonderful.
Can't wait to see you again.
Well, Tati bye. I am away. And Dax kind of like walks out the door.
He will stand up and make his way out. I'll say as he walks past, you can attempt to bump into him and try and pilfer the contract, but he is aware of his situation, surroundings a little bit. You can certainly give it a shot, though.
So I've got a 3 in sleight of hand, a 3 in acrobatics, and 2 in dex. Which one do you want me to roll?
It'd be the dex and the sleight of hand. So whatever they total, that many d6.
5. Oh, 5. Maybe, if I can get 5.
Yeah, there you go. Got it. 3 successes, 2 failures.
Okay. He's going to be hard pushed. Okay, you can bump into him as he goes to leave, and he looks at you very angrily, like you've quite clearly pissed him off. But because of that, he doesn't notice that as you've sort of bumped into him, you've managed to slide it, sort of like reach under the pocket and use your finger to sort of kick it up and fold it under your arm. And if you keep your arm in place, it's sort of tucked just out of the way. And you sort of like, as he glares at you and you glare at him, you turn, which simultaneously holds his gaze and also keeps your body rotated so he can't make it out. And as you go to leave, you can just drop it into your hand as he makes his way out, putting his hat on and walking down the street.
That's what I did. And so then I kind of run to try to catch up to Dax and be like, here's your scroll. What does it say?
I actually did not need the scroll after I've gotten this bit. I
Well,
just
now you have
needed.
it all.
It is true, you have a full contract now.
I do have a full contract.
Meaning you have the contract and he doesn't anymore.
This is indeed true.
This is also fact.
He can't
Very
hunt
well.
him without a contract.
You're right. Ensign Stilton Noble has no recollection of writing the contract. We could just take care of the problem ourselves.
Indeed.
Exactly. No contract, no rule for him.
All right. Well, the first thing we need is an expert in forgery or mischief. Either or will work. Just so happens I have a contract of my own. Dax pulls out 3 gold pieces and places them on the ground. He draws with his pinky a circle and then begins to write sigils into it. This will bind the little fucker in place. As he pulls out a dagger and cuts his hand and drips some blood on the gold, and he tries to summon a mischievous fairy, a leprechaun.
Oh, okay, very well. Roll me a summoning.
All right. Here we go. 2 successes, 4 failures.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna make this real simple. I'm gonna give you a high or low.
Okay. Like a high or low roll?
Just pick high or low.
Let's go high.
Okay. You do indeed manage to summon a little leprechaun, but as you do so, you notice that right at the last moment, there is a small imperfection in the circle. And as the magic flares up and lights the circle up, it travels around and doesn't fully complete. It's a fraction of a centimeter, perhaps, but it's enough to break the circle. And your leprechaun, indeed, is summoned, but is not bound to you. But it appears, and where am I? What's going on? What is this? Who are you? Who are these people?
Cullen, it's me, Dax.
Oh, you. He kicks the circle and then looks for a moment and looks and wait.
Oh no.
Oh,
No.
yes.
No, Cullen, I have a job for you. That's what the gold is for.
For you. Looks down at the gold. I'll allow you roll me a one charm to try and persuade him to not bolt.
2 5s and a 3.
Oh, he licks his lips.
I
Seem to
need
be a
you-
little short there. He taps his foot by the gold.
There is another shiny gold piece for you. If you could tell me, was this contract forged, made by illusion magic, or fey magic?
Give.
He hands the full contract to Cullen.
He takes it and looks at it and says, well, don't all stare at me. Give me a moment. Give me some privacy.
Of course.
Turn around.
Dax starts looking for his bag of rice. All right. And he hands it to Elena. If he runs, I want you to drop this rice right on the floor. He's a leprechaun. He must count every grain.
No problem. I can do that.
He glowers at you and do you all heed to his request and turn?
Yes.
Yes.
Or it doesn't, but
He looks at you and, fair enough. And he will spends a few moments. It's gonna do. Okay, he spends a few moments having a look, and after a few seconds, it probably takes maybe a minute or so, but you can hear him behind you. You can still hear him behind you, and then you hear something wet, almost like splashing, and okay, done. And you can turn around now.
Dax turns around.
Um,
Did you dunk
what
Dax-
do I smell?
Dax, before anything happens, can you roll me do you have acrobatics?
No, I do not.
Then just a straight dex for me, please.
Oh, no.
A 2.
Oh,
Dax, you plummet as you try to turn, and he has tied your ankles together. Literally just taken a small bit of string and tied them very delicately together. So as you guys turn, he is still there. He hasn't run, but he's standing there holding the contract out. And Dax, you just slam down beside him. Wart, you quite clearly smell urine, and he's holding out the contract.
I threw down the rice. Count it.
He glares at you. Actually, he will try and catch it before it falls everywhere.
That's fine. I have another handful of sugar in my pocket.
Oh wait,
He has
those
to
are
count
the
that too.
That's way too much. That's B8. He lunges forward and manages to catch it. One back. Count it. He doesn't run. He just holds it and he takes it. That's his bag of rice now.
Wirt's gonna try to catch him.
I'm gonna throw one of those throwing stars at him to cut the
You're gonna
rice.
Wait,
Oh,
harm him.
he's not trying to run. Like he just like
Okay.
panics. You
Oh,
like
he
draw a
just-
weapon, throw, like run, like leaps towards him. He's like,
Okay.
fucking,
Oh, he's not trying to run yet. Then Wirt's.
Okay.
you're a mad bunch, aren't you?
Yeah, she is a bit erratic.
I'm sorry, Cullen. Please, what is your finding with the contract?
Why did you hand me a witch hunter contract?
Because
Because it's mine
We
now.
nicked it
I
from
stole
them.
it.
You're a witch hunter.
No.
Fuck
No.
this.
No.
no,
You run, and I will.
Cullen. The witch hunter received a contract from the Lord, and the Lord
Right.
does not remember writing it. So I just want to make sure that it wasn't fabricated by Fey folk, because you know how you're Fey. You know how.
Oh, I
dislike-
see how it is. Something goes wrong and suddenly you blame the leprechaun. Is that it?
No,
No.
that's why I summoned you.
You know what? I used to respect you, Dax, but now you're hanging around with witch hunter folk and people who try and throw stuff at me, and, well, this one's, well, I actually quite like him. He's got a really nice banded thing, scarf. I kind of want it. But anyway, that's not the point. My fact is that, but you're handing me, and look, it's, oh, he chucks it at you. It's soaked in, he's pissed all over it, but he chucks it at you, and it's just, yes, it's a proper witch hunter contract, and no, I don't want anything to do with it. And if that's it, you owe me an extra shiny and I'll be out of here. And stop throwing rice at me, you bitch.
Dax is still on the ground at this point. He pulls up 2 gold pieces and hands it to Cullen. Just take it and don't make any trouble. You can stay for the party, but tomorrow I'm going to escort you out of town.
Oh,
You're
are
gonna let
you now?
come to town?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was here. Do you want to see my paperwork? Are you part of the town fucking guard now, are you?
No, I don't want anything bad to happen to you, Cullen. You're one of my greatest resources and best friend.
Resources!
There's a very
Good.
angry witch hunter in here who will kill you or take you away from Dax. Do you want Dax or the witch hunter?
No,
Your choice.
he's a demon hunter. He would kill him, especially since you just peed on his contract.
That I stole.
Pee on his hat next time if I see him. If he comes anywhere near me. And that goes for the 3 of you as well. Well, the trolls, okay. I quite like trolls. You
I
woodland
honestly
troll.
would join you with it. I would join you, Colin.
We could hold him down. You're big enough.
Probably.
I need a
But
couple of drinks.
You'd have to get
so
close.
I'm the tank's empty, so I'm gonna go and fill up. Where's the local tavern?
That way. And he points towards the tavern.
Careful. Be careful at the tavern. It's very weird.
Be
Yeah,
careful at
she
the
doesn't
tavern.
do well
Yes.
with. She doesn't do well with magic folk.
That's okay. She hasn't met a chiming little blighter like me yet. I'll charm the. Well, I was gonna say I wouldn't say it in front of a lady, but fuck, you're not a lady. Charm the pants off her. See you later. Makes his
All right.
way to the tavern with a hop and skip.
This town is going to be in flames by sundown. The last
Is that a
3
prediction or-
towns, the last 3 towns in which I had to go get Cullen from. Well, all the babies were exchanged with changelings. In one, the other one, there was no town, just a giant mushroom field, and the other one was definitely on fire.
He comes
dear.
back and says, "I'll have you know, they always complaining about having to change their babies, so I made the babies change themselves. That is my fault." And then he walks off.
I mean, you can't really argue with his logic on that one.
No,
As you say that, he like kicks his feet into the air as he's walking away. Like,
you can't argue with Fae on logic, because Fae logic works different than mortal logic.
This is indeed true.
So he's going to burn the town down. So now we have to run after a Fae and after the other guy.
You know, if Cullen actually drinks himself into what I think he's going to drink himself to, he might just pass out. See, one drink Cullen is the rowdy Cullen. 2 drink Cullen is the dancing party Cullen. Let's hope he stays there for the Jubilee. 3 drink Cullen is burn the house down. 4 drink is burn the town, and 5 drink is passed out.
We need to go bribe the lady to feed him 5.
Sounds like every leprechaun I've ever met.
I haven't met any, but town being burned down doesn't sound pleasant.
No.
Dax kind of reaches down and unties his shoes and stands up. Well, now that we know that this is an official witch hunter contract, we need to go check out the Lord. The Lord must have somebody in the manor must have wrote this missive. It was not forged by magic.
Well, off we go. Better to get out of this area than to sit here and wait for the witch hunter to come back.
Indeed. Who's
Very well.
taking the contract? Because I'm not.
I still have
Keyed
the
up by
signature.
his friend.
Fair enough.
Have the
You know what?
contract.
Dax bends over and lights a match. There's a very interesting thing about leprechaun piss. And he throws the match at the contract as it explodes.
it burns lime green, like lime green. Almost, like you can almost hear mischievous laughter coming from the crackling fire, and it burns up into a small crumpled ball for a moment, and then just pauses for a second, and like the flame goes out, and then it explodes and leaves behind a small little, almost like where instead of like a charred bit of ground where it's burnt, the grass begins to grow between the cobblestones or the dirt and flourishes up, and it becomes like a small, neat little, maybe half a foot high, very verdant grass little patch.
See, when you do control burns on forests, it's good to have a few leprechaun on staff, because while peeing on the fire for controlled burns, you're in fact replenishing the foliage that you're burning away.
Well, that makes sense.
So you don't learn that at Witch Hunter Academy, now do you? You just know that all you have to do is break your shoes and distract them long enough for you to hit them over the head and cut them in 2.
I went to the
Or
Rogue
however
Academy.
violently.
Don't know about anything about witches, but okay.
Remember, if for some reason you ever have to cut a leprechaun, cut it vertically, not horizontal. If you cut them horizontal, they'll just multiply.
Okay. I'll attempt to remember that.
Okay. Very well. Let's go to the manor.
You guys hasten your way towards the manor, making your way through town and out past the edges of, it's not much, it's sort of like a stone wall that surrounds the town, but no real gates or anything like that, and it's not a particularly massive one. And there is a well-laid path that leads up, like wide enough for 2 carriages to pass side by side, that weaves on up, and finally you get to a proper stone wall with gates set into it, which are currently open. They're not closed or anything like that. And it is Mulgrave House. You can see fine insignia embellished onto the columns of the gates. And as you make your way up, there's about a mile of a long path. It's a fair walk, winding through what looks to be between a couple of farmsteads, and up ahead, a big stately manor tucked away in sort of like on the hill. And you make your way up, and we'll see there's sort of like a turning point of sort of crushed gravel for the carriages to come and go. And who's knocking as the doors aren't open?
Dax will knock on the threshold.
Dax seems the most personable.
Yeah.
There's a long pause, and then you hear sort of echoing footsteps approaching, the fine click of not boots, like proper dress shoes that leave that distinctive click on tile. And the door opens with a loud clunk, and there is a man standing in front of you in full tails, like dress tails with a tuxedo sort of bow tie and a waistcoat. He looks to be quite old, maybe sort of 60, 70-year-old, something like that, with receding hairline and graying hair and a slightly portly figure. And he looks to you and says, "Yes, might I help you?"
Hello, I'm from the Royal Academy, and I'm here to collect signatures for our petition to put a giant ward around the town to protect them from leprechauns and trolls and other nefarious beings. Would you and other people in the house, other staff members, like to sign our petition?
I can't honestly tell if you're being serious or not, but something tells me you have got yourself incredibly lost.
You're right.
Was there anything else?
He is from the Royal Academy, and he's quite brilliant. We are very concerned that there is an imminent issue with possible leprechauns and hunters, and we are trying to ensure your safety and well-being.
I'm afraid the house is incredibly busy at this time, and unless you have an appointment of some kind, I really can't permit you in.
Well, we found a letter of yours, or from your house, and it says that there was an invite. He has a signature. There's a little signature.
And he pulls out the little thing. It's
a
from
torn piece of parchment with the Lord's signature on it. He frowns at you and, "Might I see that?"
Of course, but I will need this back.
You can see it without touching. Seeing is observing with the eyes. Or
Right.
other senses if you're blind.
Listen, Miss Elena, you see with your eyes, not with your hands. But sure, you can see it.
He takes it and looks at it, holds it up to inspect it. And this is the signature of the mayor of the town. Would you inform me immediately of how you came into the possession of this? He says, and he rolls it up and pockets it.
Bastard, he says underneath his breath.
Give it back. It's ours. It's important. And we really need
It's
it.
quite clearly part of an official document. Am I to assume you came to happen upon this because it was stolen in some way from a courier or something of the sort?
Nope.
Dax
It was simply dropped.
pulls out his tin star. I guess there's no need for deception. You are clearly very vigilant, and there hasn't been an insurrection of changelings in the house. So, all right. So we were misinformed, but we would like to speak with the mayor immediately about the problem going on in the mines.
I'm afraid, unless you have a proper invitation, I am going to be unable to... And as he's saying this, you suddenly hear like a rapid set of footsteps approaching, and he turns, looking somewhat confused in the door, and you see what looks to be a woman in a proper noble's dress with her hair done very fancily in curls of the local fashion, sort of striding hurriedly towards you. And he says, Lady Mulgrave, I'm sorry to have disturbed you. These individuals, she says, it's quite all right, Wellesley. Please, out of the way. Did I see? You mentioned. Is that a symbol of the order?
Yes. And these are my deputies, Deputy Elena, the stab-worthy, and Deputy Wart, the ever-so-observant.
Wellesley, would you please welcome them in, take their coats, and I wish to speak with them immediately. Bring them to the drawing room. And he looks shocked and looks to you all, and very well, I suppose. And he steps back begrudgingly, allowing you into a very stately main hall. And, might I take your jackets, he says, eyeing your clothing.
I think you've taken enough from me, thank you. But my compatriots...
I have it back.
He looks to the lady and she says, "What are they talking about, Wellesley?" And they came bearing this, he says, and he opens it up and hands it to her. She unravels it. And, where did you get my husband's signature from?
A missive.
His fish. I was going to say, it's official documentation.
Yes.
It looks torn. Where's the rest of it?
A leprechaun pissed on it. That's the only thing that we could salvage.
Maybe a conversation not for the doorway. Please,
Thank you.
I'll be with you in just a moment. And she, Wellesley, take them through. And he, very well, we'll come this way. Try not to drag mud into the house. We'll lead you through the very stately manor house towards a drawing room for you all to be seated, surrounded by books and a piano and a great writing desk and a fireplace, which he will have one of the servants come in and light. Would you care for some refreshments while you wait?
Yes. Some of your finest wine.
He will take a moment to sort of wrinkle his nose at that, but he sighs slightly and turns and says, very well, Mr. Grant, and sends one of the footmen to collect some of the wine suitable for their guests, and they will go away. And you were served some wine, some small canapes, and after a few moments, Lady Mulgrave will come in, and she takes a seat on a comfortable chair beside you all and says, "I'm so sorry for all of that. Wellesley is terribly old-fashioned. Please, I hope you're feeling comfortable. I imagine you've traveled quite a ways."
Yes, we have.
Indeed.
What do you know already?
We know that there seems to be some trouble in the mines, and you summoned a witch hunter?
No, that was actually my husband. It's
Husband? So you're married?
to the mayor, yes. You have... She reaches into her bag and she pulls out the piece of paper, and Lord Mulgrave is my husband.
Of course. Why wouldn't he be your husband?
She
Not your-
looks at you curiously, and she sort of blushes a little bit at your compliment, but well, I'm afraid he was until recently. Now I'm not so sure. You see, my husband originally sent for a witch hunter quite some time ago. It's been near 2 months. We had some trouble in the mines. I'm not really sure how it all came to be, but... Well, he's not been himself lately. When the witch hunter arrived, he refused to see him. In fact, he's You see her bottom lip quiver slightly, and I do so hope you'll be able to help me. I'm afraid. I'm sorry to get so emotional. I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what to do.
Don't worry, Miss Lady Mulgrave. The order is here. We are here to help you.
Thank you.
Now, is Mayor Mulgrave on the premises?
Yes. Yes, he is, but I'm afraid it will be very difficult for you to see him. See, he's... I don't know how to explain it other than... It sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, but he's forgotten himself. It's not just a witch hunter he fails to remember to send for. For the past few weeks, he doesn't remember anything. It just happened one day. He woke up, went out for the day, and went for a hunt, and when he returned, he was all out of sorts, and he went to bed, and when he awoke the next day, he asked me to move out of our bedroom, and when I asked him why, he said he didn't know who I was. He claims he has no memory of who he is or any of this business. I've tried everything we have. We've been to the local apothecary, and we've sent for people to examine him, but in truth, he simply doesn't remember anyone in the house. He's changed everything around. He refuses to see anyone, even the witch hunter he sent for himself. Doesn't even recognize his own signature now.
I see. And other than his complete character shift, has anything else been off? Maybe personality change?
Yes, I suppose.
I see.
He was always such a strong-minded, determined man. Truly wonderful. He had such a great strength of character and spirit and convictions. Now he seems like a ghost of himself, a wraith. He's hollow. He doesn't have the strength he used to. He doesn't go out. He's changed everything, refuses to speak to any of the staff he was friends with, or won't go into the village. And it's become very taxing on the house.
I see.
Well, maybe we should go look in the mines, or shall we drag him out and take him to the mines with us?
I feel like there's something to be learned from the Lord, Deputy Elena.
I agree. I think we should speak with him.
If you would, Lady Mulgrave, could you procure some iron, some cold iron, some silver, some pepper? Let's see.
Wellesley, take a note of all of this. He comes over, grumbles slightly.
Riverstone. Smooth Riverstone. Perfectly smooth. Riverstone. It is very important for the ritual that I am going to perform. Let's see. Some sand and a bag of rice. That should be all that we need for now. Wart, Elena, if you would, could you search the premises for anything that seems ominous or dastardly, like sigils, maybe
She
stone?
starts to well up a little bit at all of this. It's a little much. And of course, I just...
Is there an office somewhere that you can point me in a direction?
Whatever for.
Curiosity, and to help our commander over here.
Wart's going to walk up and down the halls, his fingers touching the walls, just looking for anything that feels, smells, or sounds off.
Okay. Are you looking for something physical, something magical, something? What kind of thing are you searching for?
Really anything that could smell or feel magical.
Okay. I'll allow either a wisdom or an intelligence and any skill that you have that would pertain.
All right, I've got perception, knowledge, nature. Or lore and nature. All right. Oh,
I think a perception would probably be for the best.
all right. So that's. Oh, I've got 2 wisdom and 2 in perception, so 4.
Okay. Oh, damn. Damn. Okay.
What's the blind man find?
As you, the first thing you'll smell is, it smells a little dusty in here. And surprisingly, having the amount of staff that they seem to, like, you know, big manor house and everything like that, it smells like it hasn't been cleaned properly. You hear the house is quiet. There's not a lot of people moving around or anything like that. You catch a whiff of food being prepared somewhere down below in the servants' quarters. It seems a very quiet and empty, kind of forlorn place. And as you sort of feel around the edge, your finger catches on a piece of wallpaper that has started to peel slightly from the coving, and you realize that this place probably needs a little bit more looking after and isn't necessarily in the best of states. Maybe fallen on hard times or something like that.
Fallen on hard times or fallen on hard emotions are his thoughts.
So as Mr. Wart begins to make his way around, Lady Mulgrave will summon a footman, and she says, "Wellesley, would you get Mr. Grant and have him take Miss Elena, was it?
Yes, it's Elena.
Elena, would you have her escorted to my husband's old office and just help her in any way that you can, and I'll stay here with Mr. Dax." And he will go off and summon the footman as Mr. Ward is walking around, and you see the footman who comes and greets you is again looks sort of like very pomp and circumstance and kind of unfriendly as he looks over you and would you come this way?
Sure, Lurch.
Mr. Grant, I thank you. And he will make his way, leading you through the house towards the private offices of Mr. Mulgrave.
Okay, so I go in there, and I kind of like lay on the ground to look for any doors, like there may be anything underneath, like, you know, like a secret passage or something, and look around the walls.
He doesn't leave you alone as you do this, and he will watch you as you drop to the floor and sort of like check for like cracks or like drag marks or anything like that. I guess a wisdom, and do you have anything to detect hidden passageways or anything that might help you with this sort of thing?
No, just a wisdom, and it's a 1.
Oh, damn, okay.
This is not going to be fun. Where's my wisdom?
A deputy, indeed, as an investigator.
Pretty much. And I got a 2.
On the 2, you glance around. This room, again, seems a little dusty in the way of the of things. You look around, and Mr. Grant watches you, and what exactly do you think you're doing, grubbing around on the floor?
I am looking for doors, passages, secret compartments, or any weird etchings. Have you seen any?
Weird etchings? Are you referring to what we civilized folk call art?
No, it would be maybe it would be art. I don't know. Magic peoples, who I am not a magic peoples, they use it to do things. The guy downstairs, he can summon things with these etchings, which is why I'm trying to figure out: have you seen any of these etchings or any weird paperwork?
I would need to know something more specific. Why are you here? What are you looking for? What should it pertain to?
Well, your master's forgotten who he is. Your house seems archaic, and you seem like you're stuck somewhere between that. And you're probably wondering you've fallen on hard times or it's really emotionally draining. That's kind of what I'm getting from like the gist of your mistress downstairs.
There haven't been any magic auras or users or casters or ritualistic people here. This is a respectable house. Mulgrave House is one of the finest in, well, you'll find for many leagues in any direction. So to simply even assert that something like that would be here tainting this place is outrageous.
Which is nice, and I really want you to keep believing that, but the rest of us know that something's wrong. And since you're probably saturated in it, you don't see it, but is there anything that came here?
Quite enough of this. I think it's about time the Lord of the House was made aware of your actions and what exactly it was you were here doing, certainly coming into his private affairs. So, if you don't mind...
Sure, bring him in. I'd love to talk to a guy who's forgotten his name.
I don't think so. Please, vacate the room.
Oh no, I like the room. He can come here.
No, I'm going to go and speak with him, but I will not leave you in a room full of his personal effects. You look like a thief and a vagabond.
Well, I was a thief. Now I'm a hunter of good things, like that to save magical things. So I'm
Wonderful.
Gonna sit in this
We're
chair.
allowing thieves into the house.
She sits here in the chair. Now,
If you don't leave, I will have to summon the local guards, and I will have you forcibly removed, not only from the house, but I will have you forcibly removed from all of the village. Thank you.
look, you could. However, the mistress downstairs let us in, and I'm pretty sure she outranks you. And since she pays your paycheck, since the Lord can't even remember signing his name, ergo, thinks she might have a problem with it.
And I think she would be very interested to know that there is a thief in her husband's study. I think you can agree with me that she has lost quite enough.
She has lost something. Keep talking, Mr. Man.
She
Let's
has
talk.
lost her husband, you impertinent...
He's dead.
No, he simply doesn't remember, and I would pay you good mind to leave at once.
I'm here to
Does Ward
help
hear
your
any of
mistress.
this?
Probably not. It's a big house. This is going on
Okay.
quite some way.
I'm here to help your mistress. So help me help her to get your master back. Or don't, and I'll tell her that you're not worthy to work in this luxurious
I
establishment.
don't think you have the authority to assume who is worthy of working in such an estate and who isn't, gathered by the state of your boots, your terrible, tardy, appropriate attire that you have come here in, and your entire lack of social graces or manners. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to speak to Mr. Wellesley about having you ejected from the premises. Good day. And he will turn and storm off down the corridor.
Okay, so she goes back to rifling through the papers to see if there's
You
anything.
know what I mean? Yeah, you can actually go through this office now. So I'll allow
She's
you to
right.
roll me another perception check as you do, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. But as this is all going on, and it will take a while for them to go and have their argument and come back, you've made your observations. Dax, what are you doing? Mrs. Mulgrave is quite clearly distraught by this, and also seems like very lost and not sure what to do.
Well, does the butler come back with the ingredients that I need?
It will take a little time. He can give you some of them immediately, like Iron. She hands over a silver bracelet of her own, which the butler looks horrified that she is giving over things. But she's just, anything I can do to help them. You help my husband. And she seems genuinely, earnestly, completely at her wit's end and lost at the moment. But a few bits like rice and stuff will have to be summoned from the kitchen. But she says, you're with the order, aren't you?
Of course I am.
Might
Now,
I ask you something before?
of course.
You see, and she makes her way over and sits beside you. And Jeeves, Jeeves? Wellesley,
Oh,
would you
no.
give us a moment of privacy? And she will wave him away. And once the two of you are alone, she's sort of clutching a pendant to her neck. She says, I wanted to ask you something honestly, as a professional in your field.
Okay.
The witch hunter that came.
Mhm.
What do you know about witch hunters?
They are an order of monster hunters, to put it simply. Instead of my order, where we will find the source of the magical disturbance and we will try to resolve it without destroying the magic completely, because destroying the magic completely removes magic from our world bit by bit. We try to relocate it. Now, if your husband has been changed or possessed, I want
That's
you to
what
be
he said.
aware. I want you to be aware that if we were to try to exorcise him, it may result in his death. We will try to not have that happen, but
She-
something can be helped.
Whimpers slightly and just... I was hoping... You see, I've never dealt with them personally, but they've been to the house before. On a few prior occasions. My husband, well, he was actually rather an advocate of witch hunters. They came and they helped clear the grounds of some things in the past, and they seem such, well, efficient fellows, if somewhat. I don't really care for them, but this time, when he came, I may have misinformed you slightly. See, it wasn't my husband who refused to see them. It was myself. I sent him away. I wouldn't even tell my husband that he'd arrived because, well, having spoke with him, he told me about some of the ways he might have to drive something out of my husband, an exorcism or purging some kind of creature, and I couldn't bear him to put my husband through that. He's not all there, but he's aware, and I don't want him to suffer. They spoke of brands and terrible things. I don't want him hurt. I just want him back. And I just didn't have the stomach for allowing such a barbaric ritual to be taking place.
Now, you said that your husband had contacted the witch hunters before to escort creatures over to the afterlife and exterminate. Do you remember what creatures? You may have
Well,
made it.
There was a crone who made herself a home in the woods not too far from the village. And there was some business. It was many, many years ago, but she was luring children out into the woods, they say. A few people went missing, not just children, and pets, and a few travelers never checked out properly, and, well, it was a ghastly business, and they took care of it, so I'm told, and we never heard any more trouble about it, and they destroyed the house, and they claimed that she was not just driven from the area, but they dealt with her permanently. And there was another case of some kind of, I don't know, I don't know much about magic, you see, but some kind of thing that was driven from the lady's house down the road. There's the, what do you call them, apocryphes. Well, he sent, and his wife was being haunted by something, some visions, and they went down and they dealt with it, but she's never been the same since. Sort of, well, traumatized, to tell you the truth. I've sent some tithes to see that she's well looked after, but I don't want that for my husband. And we haven't had use of witch hunters in, well, years. But he had some old contacts, and when we heard about troubles in the mine, and when the miners said that they wouldn't work any longer, and they couldn't pull ore out of the earth, and well, it would bankrupt my husband if the mine went and closed. So he sent for a witch hunter. But then, about 2 weeks ago, long before the man arrived, he changed. And now I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid that if I tell the man, he might do some of the things that he did to that poor old lady, to my husband, and I won't have it. I've heard of your order. You're supposed to be much gentler, much more a learned approach, and I hope you can get to the bottom of this.
Of course, if you would go fetch me your husband, I will make sure that he is taken care of.
I'm afraid he won't come down, but I can take you up, if he's decent.
Doesn't matter if he's decent or not.
I don't want him to fall any further. He's lost so much of his dignity already. I won't put him through more. But if he's decent, I'll see to it. Come with me.
Oh, and if you have a cat, bring any feline you have on the premises, even a stray cat.
I don't have a cat, but I'm sure one of the farmhands might.
Cats are early warning detection devices for the supernatural.
I see.
They will meow or hiss, whether or not it's malevolent or benevolent.
Your friend over there, she says, pointing to Mr. Ward, is he quite all right? Is Mr. Ward is sort of worrying the wallpaper a little bit?
The best tracker the Order can afford and have. I assure you that what he lacks in eyesight, he makes up with heart.
As that's being said, that's when Wart chimes in. There's a pallor falling over this whole home.
How do you mean?
Your servants. I'm sure your servant, judging by the way he's greeted us, is quite careful, quite thorough. Yet, I find wallpaper that is peeling away. There's more dust.
You can't
than I
hold
would have
that against
expected.
Mr. Wellesley. He's been with
Oh.
the family for an awfully long time. It's just,
No, I'm not critiquing him. I'm just stating that it's created a matter of apathy amongst him and the staff.
what staff? We've had to let almost everyone go. We're down to a single cook, one footman, and a butler. We had near 20 members of staff almost a month ago, and my husband let everyone go recently. All but the bare essentials. I had to fight him just to keep Wellesley. He's been with the family for near 40 years.
Thorough at his job as he may be, one man can only do so much.
I tried to tell my husband, but... Well, he told me that we couldn't live like we used to. He wouldn't, as he was changed.
Lady Mulgrave, please call all of your staff to the foyer. Wart, I want you to use that excellent sniffer of yours and try to sniff out anything that doesn't smell human.
I'll
As
do what I can.
she stands and says, of course, and she reaches for a bell to ring just as the doors don't fly open, but open brusquely, and Mr. Grant, the footman, walks in, and he looks around and strides over to Lady Mulgrave and says, Lady Mulgrave, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know this is out of place for me, but I must protest. This gentleman has brought a thief into your house. She looks at you and... What on earth is he talking about, Mr. Dax?
Elena, she is one of the Order's foremost spy masters. She tends to pick things up, and she tends to put them in the pocket, but I assure you that all will be returned the moment we leave.
Mr. Dax, I'm afraid I can't allow thieves to be wandering the house. He looks to Mr. Grant and... Well, where is she? She's in your husband's office and refuses to leave until she is granted an audience. She wishes to summon the mayor as if she is some kind of royal dignitary. And Mrs. Mulgrave looks... Mr. Dax, I'm unsure as to how you're used to conducting your business, but as though it may be that times have fallen hard in Mulgrave House, I'm afraid I must ask for a little dignity to be afforded to my family. I can't have you trying to drag my husband out of bed and speaking so brusquely to our staff who have been so good enough to remain.
Very well. Mr. Footman, sir, would you please go apprehend Elena and do so within your right as footman of the house? And
I'm afraid I don't take orders from strange men who come bearing authority that... Mr. Grant, I'm sure Mr. Dax didn't mean anything impertinent by it. He's simply trying to expedite the process. And what exactly does he have, authority-wise, to say that he has in any way the most inkling of ideas of what is going on here? Mr. Grant, that isn't your position to inquire. That is mine. And as long as you're working in this house and waiting on my husband, I ask that you assist Mr. Dax. And in return, I'm sure Mr. Dax and his colleagues will afford you every courtesy that you have earned.
Dax grabs the footman by whatever armor or jerkin.
Oh, he doesn't have any armor at all. No, he's wearing tails. These are high society servants.
And he takes the silver bracelet and he presses it to his forehead to see if it burns.
Okay, give me a strength and anything you have that might assist you in grappling a man.
Do you one better. Let's retcon
Okay.
it and summon. I'll use one of my bespoke magic spells, and I'll summon
Okay.
Brody's Bodacious Brute.
Brody's Bodacious on Brute.
A spell for summoning a celestial warrior to serve you. This spell summons a magical being to fight you. Extra successes can be used to boost the brute's core stats, improve its skills, or give it new skills. It has the following base stats: 2 strength, 2 dex, 2 body, 1 intelligence, 1 wisdom, and 1 charisma.
Okay, give me a grapple check for the most bodacious assistant that has ever been summoned to Mulgrave Hall.
I feel like it comes. It's like this suit of magical armor that is always like neutrally doing strong arm poses.
Just always like flexing.
Yeah,
Always.
and it doesn't. He doesn't speak. He speaks in like. He's like he speaks Link. He only speaks in grunts.
I love it. Okay.
Okay, so let me summon him first because I'm rolling to summon him, so that's 6. Let's see. extra
Holy-
successes. So we're going to boost his strength. Let's see. I got 4 successes. We're going to
Mhm.
boost his strength to 4.
Oh my god.
And let's see. We're going to boost his bod to 4.
You boost his bod to bodacious levels. Okay, let's
Of
do
course.
this.
Okay, so that's going to be 4 for strength for the grapple, 2 successes, 3 failures.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Let us go for a. Oh. He. Well, actually. Okay. You managed to. Your bodacious assistant will manage to grapple him for a fraction of a moment. Long enough for you just about to press the silver against his head. You leave a small indentation where it's got a slight pattern to it. So you press it against his forehead sort of hardly as this armor appears and behind him and sort of grabs him behind the arms, and he lets out a furious, confused noise of grunts. What the hell is? And Mrs. Mulgrave sort of lets out a small squeal of fear as this thing appears, but you manage to press the silver against his head. It leaves a small indentation, but not a burn.
Very
And
good.
he manages to pull himself free, and in a panic will reach for. He gets to the desk and picks up a letter opener. In his defense, that's all he has. Oh no! He gets to the fireplace and he lifts a poker and holds it out in a very bad approximation of a fencing pose. Like,
Is the
in hell is that?
the poker is made of iron?
It is.
Okay. He's like, this is Master Brody's Bodacious Brute. It is a summoned homunculi in which I use to conduct many of my stronger...
Mr. Dax, might I remind you that you are in the presence of her ladyship, and as such will not use such vulgar language in front of her. As you keep saying bodacious, and that is very inappropriate for high society.
I'll have you know, Mr. Footman, that we might have a shape-shifting fairy infestation. I am going to check every single staff member, which is within my rights, with a silver and iron test. You passed both. And he points to the iron poker because you so swiftly grabbed that and you did not drop it out of fear.
Lady Mulgrave, I really must protest, and she, please, no more frights. We are trying to cooperate, but you are behaving in a very erratic fashion. I'm starting to wonder if you are suited for the job.
Lady Mulgrave, all I asked was your footman to apprehend the person that he was going to apprehend in the first place, but he decided to protest, which led me to believe that he was in fact an insurgent. Luckily for you, he is not. So he may go about his business without trying to impede mine. Now, if you impede my business again, I will contact the Order rather quickly and say that you are interfering with an investigation. Now, the Order will then take our contract and hand it over to the proper people to deal with such uncooperative people, the witch hunters, in which we will let them know that you turned them away, and they will come back, not with one witch hunter, but with 4 or 5 or maybe a legion. Let's just say your entire town will be burnt to the ground. I'm trying to save you. The witch hunters are very, very thorough in the sense that they will destroy anything that smells of magic.
Well, it sounds
But-
like
It's part- Look, Lady Mulgrave, I'm trying to help you. It is all part of our fair game agreement with the witch hunters. If we can't complete the contract, we give it to them. Now, don't have me unable to complete this contract.
Mr. Grant, would you please be so kind as to go and fetch Miss Elena and have her report back here to Mr. Dax? He gives her a distressed look, but holds up sort of duty first and will march off. And once he's gone, the lady will turn to you and says, Mr. Dax, if I might speak clearly to you,
Of course.
whilst I will continue to try and assist you, I must remind you that you are currently a resident here, a guest of his lordship, and you will act accordingly so. And might I also remind you that you have so far produced no such contract. So if you intend to threaten my homestead, my husband's livelihood, and everything else, including a village of people that I care very dearly about, I will ensure that you are apprehended and you are held to the full extent of the law. Do I make myself clear? I am still lady of this house, lady of this village, and I am still the lawmaster here. Do I make myself unwaveringly clear?
Yes, madam. But you also have to be careful of the leprechaun running through town. Now, he has seen the contract, and as you know, a fairy cannot lie unless asked the question 3 times.
I know no such thing. What I do know is if you refer to me as Madam again, I promise you, you will find yourself in the custody of the local town guard. You will refer to me as Your Ladyship, and that will be the end of it.
Of course, your ladyship Mulgrave.
She holds herself upright as you glowers at you for a moment, but as all of this has been going on, there has been a rogue somewhere tinkering around and going through desk drawers and stuff like that. So, whilst all of this drama has been unfolding downstairs, one hell of a distraction, Elena, I will allow you to roll me 2 perception checks as you've been bought quite a bit of time, and you can have a thorough route around about this place, taking your time.
Okay. 5 and a 3.
Okay. You don't find anything in the way of suspicious voodoo-like magical items or anything like that. You glance around, you find nothing that seems to be unusual in that sense. But you do find that there is paperwork on the desk. It looks recently tended to and signed. Everything else is kind of a little bit dusty in here, but you notice sort of little details. The chair still carries a slight indentation from heavy use. You can see that the ink in the inkwell has been left out but hasn't dried yet. You see the paperwork that is currently on. The first few bits seem to be dismissals that have been signed for staff members. It looks like quite a lot of the staff has been let go. There is also a letter that has arrived from the master of the mine, who is currently in charge of bringing ore out of the earth, informing his lordship that there will be no further things being, the mine has essentially been closed until the matter has been resolved. As he has mentioned on numerous letters beforehand, it sounds like the man is incredibly impatient and getting quite frustrated. The man's name is Mr. Bevelian. And finally, you see another letter which has been written up. It is a letter that hasn't been sent yet. It has been sealed, but it is addressed to the town, to the captain of the guard. This looks like it was recently sealed and is left on his desk. Hasn't been sent yet.
Okay, so she takes that and pockets the captain of the guard lever to give to Dax since he's Mr. Official, and she takes note of the mine owner or the mine runner's name, and so there's no income coming into the house from what she gathers, and it just keeps increasing. And so somebody is still sitting in here doing things, like even if it's just on muscle memory. And she kind of makes her way back to the door, going to try and take the letter.
Mr. Grant will intercept you in the hall and see you, and you are demanded to return downstairs immediately by her ladyship, and you will do so at once.
No problem. So good of you. I'll follow you.
I have other matters to attend to. Go.
Okay. All right.
And he will.
So she starts walking, and while she's walking, of course, tries to look around and see, if there's anything that would pop out in the wall that looks like a secret vault or anything, but she makes her way back down.
Nothing strikes you as ordinary. You see a few empty alcoves that still have plinths that look like you can see where they had poles screwed in, where statues of armor once stood. But this place, now you come out now you're upstairs, there's marks on the wall where paintings have been hung that are missing now. And you can see the fading on the wallpaper isn't there, where it's been protected. It's not like the whole place has been cleared out, but bits and pieces are missing, and it's starting to look a little unusual. But once you get downstairs, it looks up to appearances into like the main hall where people would be greeted and that sort of thing. And you join the rest of your companions shortly.
All right. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back.
The lady stands and looks at you and... Miss Eleanor, might I be so bold as to ask what exactly it was you were doing in my husband's study for so long?
Rifling it, looking for anything that I could give to Dax to help to solve your husband's conundrum. And I did find something. Here, since you're Mr. Official, I give it to you.
Thank you. And he grabs...
She will intercept and try and take that from you as it's her husband's letter.
Can I acrobatics it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Go on. You can nip
Keep
round
away.
her if you want to try and make an acrobatics and a dex.
All right.
She's not...
acrobatics and dex?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's 5, 7. Okay, 7 dice. Hang on.
7.
Maybe. Yeah, 7. 5. Here's 5 of them, and here's 2 more.
Well, that is 1, 2, 3 successes. One of yours will cancel out her only success. So that's you nimbly nip by her with no qualms whatsoever. She tries to reach out, and you just spin around. I mean, she's in a cocktail dress, sort of. Well, not cocktail dress, but in a finery dress and heels. So you just whip round her in an instant, and she looks outraged. And Mr. Dax, I am growing very tired of this. But you are handed...
Why are you so keen to obstruct our investigation, madam?
Why are you so keen to go through my husband's personal effects? And why is it that when you are asked by a servant of this house, who is hired and acts as my husband's eyes and ears when he is unable to visit outside the house, why are you ignoring express orders you are given by members of this household? You have no authority here other than the authority that I grant you.
Well, he granted me the authority to search the room, and so I'm giving him a letter from the letter of the guard, as well as there's a letter upstairs from a Mr. Pavilion who runs the mine, who says the mine's no longer going to be touched until your husband resolves the issue in the
I'm
mine.
more than aware of Mr. Pavilion's many complaints, and as I have... That's not what you're here to talk about or investigate.
Perhaps it is. Maybe something is in the mind, and that is the problem. But anyway, the letter of the guard can go to Dax because Dax has the authority to, investigate. So, okay.
And why don't you let us decide what is linked to this investigation and what is not? There is information you may try to prevent us from seeing that will be the key to unraveling
Are
it.
you trying to tell me that I am in some way involved in this or culpable for
No,
the terrible fate that has befallen my husband?
no, absolutely not. I'm just saying what you may be trying to keep from us to protect your husband's privacy may be key to us unraveling it. Allowing us the freedom to do our investigation is what
Then
we
I
need
will ask
to answer
you
this.
for the final
Can I roll a
time.
charisma charm?
Yeah,
Try
go
to
on.
talk
Okay,
about-
I'll let you try and charm. Go for it.
All right, social charm and charisma, correct?
Oh yes, indeed. Damn.
Oh, nope.
She looks to you and says, Mr. Dax, I will give you and your companions one more chance, but if you do not fully cooperate with everyone here, I will be handing this entire investigation over to the witch hunter and reporting your grievous misconduct, not only to the Order, but to the local guards as well. Do you understand?
Very well.
What is this letter you found?
I don't know. I'm not allowed to open it, but he's an official letter opener. So I brought it to him to open. I can only look at things and then give it to him. And I just see that it's to the guard. And so he can open said letter to the guard to tell you what's inside said letter.
With your permission, your ladyship Mulgrave, might I open this missive?
I will do so, and you may read alongside me. But this letter is... She looks at it for a moment and frowns slightly and says, afterwards, I want you to deliver this to the guard captain. I'm unsure as to why it hasn't already been sent.
There are new letters upstairs, but there are some very, very old letters. And are you sure your husband's the one writing them? Maybe somebody else is writing them for him.
She shakes her head and said, that's my husband's handwriting right there. She reaches and she will take out the signature, and it bears a resemblance. They look similar. She says, I know my own husband's handwriting. He's not gone daft. He just... Give it here.
Very well.
She will-
Dax hands it.
She will take it over to the desk, take a letter opener, slice it open, and take out the letter. And she doesn't do anything underhanded. She will hold it out for you to read as well. She reads it. It is a very short letter, and it is to a Captain Graves, who is the local guard captain. And it says, Graves, I have an urgent... it says, Graves, I have an urgent job for you. I need you to go to the capital. I need you to leave at once and find my daughter. And I need you to bring her back to the estate. Speak with no one about this. Regards, your old friend, Bill. And she looks at it for a moment, and that doesn't make any sense. He doesn't remember anybody. When did you find this? This must be an old letter.
No, it was on top. It was on top, and it was right next to the letter from the mind guy. Like, everything is kind of dusty up there.
This one you would have found tucked under a few other bits of papers that might possibly have been a little older. It sort of like tucked out of the way, but you found it easily enough.
It might be a little bit older, maybe, but it was kind of just in there. And
will you take this to the guard captain?
Yeah, I imagine we can do that. Where's the mines? Maybe we could just take me and Bort could take a look while Dax does his eyeballing around.
Fine, the mines. You won't be able to go inside. They're shut at the moment. Some kind of disturbance down there. But on the other side of town, near the woods, not too far from the river, there's a path that leads through. If you get lost, you can ask anyone in the village. But you won't be able to go inside them, I'm afraid. You'll have to speak to Mr. Bavelian about what the matters of going on over there.
Okay, but if he lets us see it and we talk to him, could we go in, your ladyship?
It's entirely up to him. He's the overseer of the mine. It's his job. Not that he's been doing it lately.
Well, since he hasn't been doing it and you're the owner, if we have your permission, then we won't be invading and rifling.
I can't give you that. Only my husband could.
Okay. Well,
The only thing I can do, she says, pondering something for a moment, if you haven't already pilfered it, in my husband's study, he has a seal. If you take that with you, it might afford you a little bit more courtesy from Mr. Bavelian.
I didn't pilfer it. I didn't take anything except for the letter, and I brought it to Dax. But I can go back. I saw it. It was on the desk in the drawer top.
Then take it, and Mr. Dax, could you please take this letter post haste? I don't know why. I need to speak to my husband. I don't understand. This must be an old letter, but he never spoke to me about needing to see her, and I don't understand why he's asked him not to speak to anyone. And it can't be a recent letter. He doesn't remember anyone's names. Wouldn't even know who to write to. He doesn't know the guard captain anymore. Or fails to remember he even has a daughter.
Well, would it be all right if I were to listen through the door as you conversed?
I suppose you can come with if he will permit you, but I will not have eavesdropping in my house. If he will see you, then fine, but otherwise.
Very well.
And I'll go get the seal if that's okay.
Go get the
Fine.
seal.
Run. Okay, she goes.
I suppose Wart's going to accompany Dax, because Elena probably runs too fast for him to keep up.
Elena rushes off, and Dax and Wart will head upstairs, and Mrs. Lady Mulgrave will take you to the mayor's private bedchambers. She will get there, and as they do so, you see Mr. Grant, the servant, who is fast losing his temper with all of your attitudes, coming out holding a tray of food that has barely been touched, and he's not in the best of moods. I recommend you tread carefully with him, my lady. Certainly in present company, I doubt he'll be thrilled to see more strange faces.
Does Wart smell anything out of place about the food or the hall leading up to the room?
Give me a perception, and give me a wisdom, and you know what? I'll let you roll nature to see if you smell any sort of alchemical ingredients or poisons or anything like that.
Okay.
Damn! 4, 5, and 6. The man eats well. Well, when he eats. That is some fine food. Apparently they haven't let the cook go yet. But it looks like it hasn't been touched. And it doesn't look like it's been... I mean, if it's been tampered with, he's refused it entirely. There's a glass of wine, or maybe a few mouthfuls have been taken from it.
Right. Enough to taste it, but not enough to have actually said that he's eaten it. And if I'm not smelling anything wrong about it.
No, I tell you what, you did so well. Give me a perception check. Actually, I'll let Dax do it as well.
All right.
Okay.
So wisdom and your perception, if you have the skill.
That is 1 success, 2 successes for me.
And 3 for me.
Okay. Okay. Wart, you, as he turns, Dax, you don't notice this, not quite. But Wart, as he turns and he says that he might be in a foul mood, you catch a whiff of something. It's hot. You taste, you smell his breath. You smell wine on the servant's breath. There is also a cup of wine that you can smell prior to that, and you could smell sort of like food and everything else. But you smell wine on his breath. He's been drinking. He doesn't sound drunk to your ear by any means. He doesn't sound like he's slurring his speech to either of you. But you hear, you catch a whiff of that, and he will start making his way away unless you call out to him.
Yeah. I'm not going to call him out, but once I no longer hear his footfalls, I will mention that to Dax. Kind of whispered, trying to not let the lady hear.
Well, I guess we are going to have to keep an eye on Mr. Wino here.
Mr. Wino.
Wino.
Giving him
I can't
his
remember
full-
the footman's name for my life either, so we'll go with that.
Mr. Grant. That's fine.
Mr. Grant.
You,
Okay.
She knocks on the door and she says, "Wait here for a moment. I will see if he's in a fit mood to see you all." And she will go in, close the door behind her. If you want to eavesdrop, I'll allow the pair of you, even though she has expressly forbidden it. But if you want,
I will eavesdrop.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
the most
That's
troubly
one.
trouble.
And,
1 success for me.
That's no successes for me.
Okay. You catch more the tone, Wart, of the conversation. She seems like she is trying to talk to him, and he quickly sounds like he loses his temper. And then he raises his voice slightly, and you hear him saying, "Send him away. Send him away at once. You need to. Listen to me." You hear like a little bit more conversation, and it seems sort of like it stays very tense for a moment. Finally, she's, "Blast it, Bella, I told you. They need to leave. Do this. Do this now. Don't question me any further." And she comes out after a few moments of like choking on tears a little bit, and I'm afraid he won't be seeing you. He's in a foul temper. I don't know why. Something must have set him off, but
Is he in a foul temper often?
it's the worst I've seen him.
I didn't hear
He-
you.
It's the worst I've seen him. I can't say. I don't know. He's not usually so. Well, it's the first time in a very long time he's raised his voice to me. Forgive me, I might ask you to give me some privacy. I might take a walk. And she turns and will make her way away.
Wart steps completely out of her way and looks towards where he last knew Dax was standing.
Dax has
Sorry,
kicked in the door and went into Lord Mulgrave's.
Do you wait until she's left, or?
Oh yeah. He kind of like waits
Okay.
until she
Okay.
like goes through the corner, and just as Wart would be like turning back, Dak just kicks in the door.
Okay, I won't make you make a roll. You kick the doors open, and it comes swinging open into a large master bedroom. I'm going to say, Elena, you probably come back at this point, or meet up with them at this point, as you see her walking away, and you come back like, I've got the suit, and then Dax just like, Die Hard, John McClane kicks the door in, and comes in to find Mayor Mulgrave sat in bed, where he looks like he's been for some time. It's a large bedroom. There is a chair sat beside him, a very comfortable chair that looks like it's been dragged over. And to come in, he splutters with fury and just, what in the hell is going on here?
That's not how you talk to a lady.
Lord Mulgrave, it is imperative that I speak with you immediately on who you pissed off.
He throws off his covers and stands and will immediately reach for his bedside table and fumble to get it open. And he draws what looks to be a small gentleman's dagger. Nothing too fancy, and certainly not something. As he stands, he looks like he's unwell. For the best. Do any of you have any medical training, any medicine, healing, anything more? Okay.
Not I.
Oh, I do. I have one.
Okay.
Same.
I'll allow you to make me some rolls as he stands up in his night clothes, looking furious.
All right. Medicine and what?
I got a natural one.
Wow.
Just medicine or medicine and...
I'll let you roll medicine and or wisdom.
Okay.
Medicine.
So what about his voice or his smell tips me off?
Okay, on a 6 and a 5, that's good. You catch a whiff of... he smells of sweat of someone who's lain dormant for quite some time in bed. The room smells dusty, like it hasn't been particularly well looked after. And his voice is he sounds a little hoarse. His voice cracks, like he might be a little dehydrated. He seems a little unwell in that fashion. As for... he sounds genuinely furious that you've come in. You don't detect sort of like a whiff of poison or anything untoward. You don't smell any sort of, toxins or anything. But he stands and he points the dagger at you, Dax. Do you
Get
have...
that dagger out of his face, or I will throw my own.
Are you threatening the lord of this manor?
Elena.
No, I'm talking to the wall.
See. Lack of appetite. Profuse sweating, even though is it hot in this room or cold?
It's not particularly warm, actually. He looks like he's just close, like in bed. He doesn't. He just smells like dormant. He doesn't smell like he has like a fever and like he's just like poor or anything like that. Yeah. He just smells like he's been in bed for God knows how many days. He smells right. Hasn't bathed properly.
Right. Can I go searching kind of like discreetly about the room for anything that might stick out?
You threatened the mayor, so I mean, there's a limit to how discreet you can be. He's very angry at you right now, so you were like.
It's okay, Dax is right there.
Well, Wart's trying to do some medicine here. Lack of appetite, lethargy. Are you having problems drinking water? Any fever?
I am fine, and I have good question to ask. Who exactly it is that I am to be asking or answering questions even to you?
Well, I am a troll
detective.
Monk. Yes, and That's-
Detective Dax Aura of the Order.
Your wife is concerned for your well-being. We are here to assuage her fears, or to aid you if you do need it.
You can aid me by vacating my bedchambers, and I will not speak to you any further. Begone, all of you.
Is there anything metal or heavy around the room that I can pick up and potentially conk him in the head to shut him up?
I mean, you could try a large candlestick holder. He's an elderly man, this guy. He's, looks like he's not like a warrior by any means. His clothes sort of hang off him, doesn't have much of a frame. Actually, to be honest, his clothes look a little big for him, to be completely honest. Like, he used to be a much larger, overweight kind of gentleman, but I mean, it would be difficult. You certainly wouldn't be able to, like, sneak up on him. He's against, like, the bedside, beside his bed, unless you want to, like, try and throw something across the bed from the other side of the room. Like, he's holding everyone back with a dagger. He also doesn't have anywhere to go, but he is furious. And you are, all of you, that you are pretty much breaking the law here. That you've broken into the bedchambers and are trespassing in a lord's house.
Yes, and that's why Wart was trying to prove to him that he had a right to be there, whether he wanted him there or not. Trying to pull a house and just diagnose him.
The giant green troll man is the only person who is actually affording him any courtesy. He's having a bad day.
Lord Mulgrave, if you would indulge me, and Dax pulls out like this ribbon that has like various holy symbols from all walks of religion of the land. Could you stare at these for me?
For me, do you have any trickery or anything of the sort to sort of convince him in any way, or would it just be
social charm?
I'll allow a social charm.
2 successes and a failure.
He looks at you for a moment, outraged, and turns and glances at the symbols. Yes, it doesn't seem to be any particular reaction from him. He glances at them and, what is this gobbledygook you're showing me?
This is various religious symbols, and the fact that you're not cowering from them leads me to believe that you are not of the undead. Congratulations, Lord Mulgrave. You are 100% currently still alive.
He looks at you for a moment and grows kind of quiet, and then he just, what are you blithering on about, you old fool? And as he shouts that out, you guys hear footsteps coming loudly up the corridor. And as this happens, the doors are once again flung open for the second time, but this time not by yourselves, by what appear to be several armed men who throw the doors open, and you recognize one of them. You recognize Mr. Cross, the witch hunter, but he is accompanied by 3 men, one of whom is a dwarven fellow with heavy chain armor, and the other 2 look to be human, one very portly and chunky with a mace, and the other one who is very tall, rakishly beanpole-like, with a shield and a short sword. None of them are particularly well armed or armored other than the witch hunter, but the man throws open a door, looks around in astonishment, and then calls out, "Men, arrest all of these ingrate trespassers." And the guards of the town move into the room and will attempt to arrest you. But how this plays out, we will have to find out in our second part of our one-shot next week, because that's all we've got time for now, as we have another show coming up hot on our coattails in just a moment. So we're going to go around super quick and say hello and how do you do to the cast and crew and find out where we can find you online. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming along and enjoying the first part of what we were, two-part one-shot. I'll speak a little bit more about it at the end, but in the meantime, let's go over to gaming.exp. How you doing, buddy old pal?
Doing pretty good. I love the system. The simplicity of it is nice. The free form of it is very alluring. So if you guys are interested, please go check out the Kickstarter. I had a lot of fun. I can't wait till next week where we can resume this. But this is pretty good. I enjoy this. You can find me here on Twitch at Zippy_Zippo, where we do a variety of different games.
Fantastic. Be sure to check him out, as well as my wonderful friend Rafe down below me. How you doing, Rafe? How was that?
That was a lot of fun. I get to play a quiet, contemplative troll who's apparently very perceptive for being blind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with gaming that this is definitely a lot of fun with how freeform it is. You can just make things up as you go and roll with whatever comes. It's so great.
Fantastic indeed. Well, we look forward to seeing more of you next week, even if Wart won't be seeing more of us. Hey, terrible joke. In the meantime, let's throw it over to our wonderful friend, Miss Charmed. How was that? Has Alana got herself in enough trouble yet, or is there more to come?
I don't know. I actually really enjoy this format. It's way simpler. And it's a lot of fun to be able to play off of people doing things, and it's different than the traditional D&D, and it's definitely a ton of fun. So, and you can find me on Twitter at mcharmed021, and on Twitch I think I'm forever charmed21, but I can't wait to come back and see what trouble I can get into.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to that as well. Next week will be the second part of this one-shot shenanigans. We'll find out if our party does indeed get themselves arrested, or if they can piss off anyone else in the small village that really is just trying to get by. God, just shenanigans. As for myself, you can find me at Encounter Joshua on Twitter. In fact, you can find all of us on Twitter. If you look just below our boxes on the overlay, you can see all of our Twitter handles there. Make sure to follow everyone, give a like, subscribe, and all that fun shenanigans. Up next, I believe we have Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which is an amazing show run by my friend Michael. Great DM, so please check that out. Stick around. We're going to be for a short break, but in the meantime, I had an absolute blast with the system. I love how versatile it is. There's a load of crazy things you can do with it, and it's the kind of system where you can play. We've decided with a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of sort of ye old times, but you can just as easily use it in Wild Wild West sort of settings. You can use it in sci-fi. Everything is really freeform and flowing, and it also doesn't limit you on stuff like character races and stuff like that. Like, be a troll, be blind. You know, be whatever you want. Be crazy. Be a kobold who, worships dung carts. Whatever you want. It's entirely up to you guys. So please check it out. You can find the Kickstarter at What We Were. It's nice and simple, and it will come up easy. I'm sure there'll be some links in chat in a moment. But in the meantime, thank you everyone for coming along, and try not to roll too many nat ones, because we want to be laughing at you when you do. Good night, everybody.